Let's welcome back to the show Dr. Brett Giroir and Iowa's Representative Mariannette Miller-Meeks. Both of you were at that GOP House panel yesterday. Thanks so much for joining us. Dr. Giroir, first to you. Reports coming in from NBC and other networks that, yes, the Chinese military for years has been working on a secret coronavirus research at the Wuhan lab, that the Wuhan lab has multiple connections with top Chinese military officials. What do you say to this report?
I would say you just about said it all. We heard yesterday from Dr. Asher, who was in the State Department and had significant intelligence agency ties, that the Wuhan lab, as many labs in China, are intricately intertwined with the Chinese military. And yes, the Chinese have an offensive biological weapons program, and it seems very clear that they were using coronavirus as part of that program.
Well, this is terrifying. Congresswoman, you and I were talking about this yesterday. Representative Michael McCall says there's evidence that the Chinese military seized control of the Wuhan lab earlier than thought in 2019. Why were they doing that?
Well, I think it's because there's a lack of transparency, and the Chinese Communist Party was trying to cover up the fact that a virus that was in the laboratory that they had amplified and modified was let loose, and that people were getting sick, and they wanted to cover that up. As we know, they pressured the WHO to deny that there was human-to-human transmission early on, and then they also, pressured the WHO to not make it known publicly that this was a pandemic and it was a serious public health emergency.
You know, Dr. Giroir, what was China's military doing with this coronavirus? What are you hearing?
Well, we really don't know, but the extent of the Chinese offensive biological weapons program really cannot be underestimated. You could even look in their public doctrine or even in some of their documents about the Biological Weapons Convention back in 2011, where they talk about synthetic biology and its ability to create weapons and even to create ethnic weapons. What I mean by that is actually being able to target a biological weapon against certain ethnic groups. So we should not underestimate the extent of their biological program. I am sure they were using coronavirus and any other virus they can get their hands on. Not that this was yet weaponized, but it's likely part of the program.
Interesting what the doctor just said, Congresswoman, because scientists, including scientists who wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, have repeatedly said that they cannot find the genomic sequence, the DNA that is inside the SARS-CoV-2 virus. That genomic sequence has not been found in nature. They tested something like 80,000 samples from more than 200 species, so that's not in nature. The virus is not found in nature yet. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it just underscores why we needed to have the hearing yesterday and why it's really disappointing that our Democrat colleagues aren't at the hearing with us and aren't pushing for an investigation into this. There are very valid reasons. One, as Dr. Giroir stated, that the Chinese Communist Party has a bioweapon and that they're working on that with the Chinese military. That's one reason to investigate this, but there's other reasons to investigate this as well. We do think it emanated from the lab, whether it was a virus that was found in nature and then amplified and modified through gain-of-function research, or whether it was a man-made virus. We don't know the answer to that, but we do know that it came from the laboratory and not found in nature. As you indicated, over 80,000 specimens were tested, and they can't find the virus in any of those. And I think one of the points Dr. Giroir made yesterday was testing the blood of military who participated in the military athletic games, war games.
That's a good point. So they found the SARS hosts in nature. They found the MERS host in nature, not this one yet. So should export controls be put on American DNA that's been given to China? Doctor, why are we giving American DNA to China? What is China doing with American DNA?
Well, both Dr. Asher and I made, we had two doctors here. So Congressman,
go ahead.
woman, I'll take
Gerard,
that one.
Dr. Gerard.
Yeah, so we, both Dr. Asher and I made the point yesterday. He made the point very explicitly that we need to be concerned about export controls for biology, just like we're concerned about export controls that could be used for nuclear weapons or something like that. I made the point that also we need to control the information about our DNA. Our DNA sequences, the sequences of Americans, are being used by the Chinese. They're being gathered by the Chinese while the Chinese absolutely forbid any sequence data of Chinese coming anywhere else.
Interesting. Dr. Gerard and Congresswoman Mariannette Miller-Meeks, thanks for joining us. Come back soon.